Hello and welcome to season 4, episode 4 of the Raider Power Podcast. I'm Evan. With me today is Chris. Chris, how we doing today?
Good, man. Are you?
I'm good, man. We got a new Texas Tech football head coach, Joey Mcguire, out of Baylor, associate head coach. How are we feeling about the pick, Chris?
Anyone's better than Wells, brother, but disappointed it wasn't Mike Leach. So,
Yeah, I can't say McGuire was in my top three because, as I said last week, my top three consisted of Leach, Leach, and Leach.
mhm.
But in all seriousness, Joey McGuire was definitely at the top of my lists for candidates after Leach. I think it's a safer pick than Mike Leach. I think, we don't need to rehash all of that, but there's certainly a lot of risk with hiring Leach. But we got our guy. It doesn't matter really now, and we have our guy, and let's roll.
It was fast too. I mean, very fast within a week.
Yeah, I've heard some complaints from some fellow Red Raiders about how they felt like we really didn't take our time and we kind of rushed through the hiring process. That was kind of the whole point of firing Wells mid-season
Mid-season,
was to be
yeah.
able to conduct an extensive search. So you have to wonder if, did we miss out on a potential better candidate?
I think that the fact that Gary Patterson is gone made Tech want to rush a little bit more just so they could get our pick in early, right? Like we're fighting against another team in the Big 12, so we don't really want to be competing against them for a head coach down the line. Maybe that's it. That's the only reason I could think. That was also my understanding was firing Matt Wells mid-season, not giving him a chance to actually make it to a bowl game and try to save his job. If they really wanted to get rid of him, was so that they would have more time to find the right guy. But if they found the right guy, it only took a week. Then it only took a week. So, like we said before, this wasn't Kirby going out rogue. So there must have been a consensus that they felt good with this one.
Yeah, they reached out to more people than I thought they did. I found I was just looking for it now, but they reached out to about 20 candidates or so.
Mm-hmm.
So they did conduct a pretty exhaustive search given the time frame. Leach included. I can confirm they did reach out to Leach. Apparently, he had some pretty egregious demands for Texas Tech administration.
Do we know what those are?
Just speculation. So no.
So probably he just wanted to be paid back, maybe like a public apology.
One of the we do know that he was consulted for sure. And interestingly enough, like I said last week, his biggest supporter and kind of the driver of the Leach train has been Cody Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, after they interviewed Mcguire, he changed his tune and he was like, "This is our guy." And the search committee all agreed after interviewing Mcguire. Apparently, he just nailed it and drilled it out of the park, and they were ready to move forward. This was not a Kirby going rogue, but rather it was a search committee definitive stance that this is the guy. So whatever he did behind closed doors with the search committee, it impressed them enough to go ahead and pull the trigger. One has to wonder, maybe they were worried about him getting scooped up.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. So with the hire of Mcguire, do we think that there are going to be some changes in the coaching staff?
Absolutely. I think that, let's look at it from Cumby's perspective and some other key staff members, notably Donovan Smith's dad, right? So if you bring in a Mike Leach, if you bring in another head coach of like, they're more than likely bringing their entire staff. When you bring in an associate head coach or a coordinator or somebody like Mcguire, it gives you a fighting chance if you're on that existing staff because you're not automatically going to clean house. With this hire, I would expect Cumby to stay on. I would expect Smith's dad to stay on, and the rest is too soon to tell. I think it's fair to say that Keith Patterson is absolutely gone, and Mcguire will be bringing in a defensive coordinator. I don't think it's necessarily going to be from Baylor. I think that it's going to be that's kind of the next search is who are the right guys, who are the right pieces of the puzzle to make this thing work.
Yeah, and we're talking about, someone that has a long list of connections in the Texas football world. So, he's definitely got a list of people that he's going to call through to bring on or would like to bring on. I would be very surprised if he keeps Patterson on as DC. Now, is Mcguire a defensive? I know I don't really know very much about him. You know much more about Trey Mcguire than I do. Is he more of an offensively minded coach or defense?
He's a defensively minded coach, I would say. What I would suggest, Chris, is let's talk about what you like about this hire and what you don't like. Maybe not necessarily don't like, but what you're skeptical of. And I'll start. So you kind of hit on it. I think his biggest asset coming in to Texas Tech is his connections in Texas. He's a legendary high school football coach. He's got connections all over the state of Texas. Cliff Kingsbury and Matt Wells just couldn't recruit. Matt Wells did well bringing in some JUCO guys, but he just didn't know the Texas market. Cliff hated recruiting, openly admitted it. So you bring in a guy like Mcguire who knows Texas in and out. It gives us a chance at those guys. And Mcguire has already hit the floor running. I saw on social media, someone tweeted, after a, very great conversation with Coach Mcguire, I'm pleased to say that I received an offer to play at Texas Tech. So he didn't waste any time. He's jumping in there on the recruiting trail immediately and going after who we want. So I would say that, the ability to recruit and his connections is the biggest pro in my mind. Now flip it to the con side, or rather what I would say is uncertainty. He's never coached, as the head coaching role in college football.
Yeah.
He had a legendary high school career, switched it up to college. I believe he started with the University of Texas, went to Baylor, but the unknown there is, can he coach at the Power 5 level, or is this a potential another Matt Wells scenario? That's where my head goes. That's the unknown there. Make no mistake, this is somewhat of a gamble hire because you don't have any previous track record to go off of. I think the biggest reason they brought this guy in is for his leadership ability. He's a player's coach. He can rally the troops. And in addition to that, the connections he has in Texas is going to bode very well for Texas Tech in recruiting. So recruiting, biggest plus, kind of not a lot to go off of on his resume.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of took exactly what I was going to say. Already touched on his ability to recruit. I mean, if we were going to talk about winning, we can say he's a winner because he was one of the. I mean, did he win 2 titles back to back in high school football? Is that right, at Cedar Hill?
I don't know enough, but I know he won multiple titles.
Yeah, so I mean, he's won at that level. He comes into a good program at Baylor. Kind of, they've looked good under him, so there's that point. But like you've kind of said already, it was a risky hire in the fact that he has not coached at he hasn't been the head coach at a D1 level, nonetheless at Power 5. So, it is a risky hire. I'm glad Kirby didn't do it by himself. We could see a short tenure for Joey Mcguire. I mean, it is a gamble pick. I feel like Tech didn't really have that many great options when it comes to an established head coach at the Power 5. We're not going to be able to recruit an elite head coach with this program at the moment, right? We've just kind of been on this downturn or this trend line of just being mediocre for a while now. So we're not going to be able to recruit top elite head coach talent, but if we can find a diamond that hasn't, blossomed yet, is kind of what they're looking for. It could be Joey Mcguire.
And I think it does speak volumes. When Matt Rule left for the NFL and left Baylor and Dave Aranda came in, Joey Mcguire was one of the only guys that he kept on his staff.
Yeah.
So that's got to make
that's true
a little bit. There's like you said, there's just a lot of uncertainty. And I'll tell you what, we've hit on it multiple times, but let me backtrack. You better believe that this was the right hire for Kirby, and he didn't feel it to be a gamble, and neither did the search committee. Because if Joey Mcguire's tenure turns out to be short because we fire him, Kirby's gone as well. There's
Yeah.
no question in my mind that the fate of Kirby is tied to this new head coach.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I don't know.
I would say Kirby's job is really up in the air right now, man. With Chris Beard leaving, firing of Matt Wells, we're kind of in an uncertain point in Texas Tech athletics when it comes to football and basketball.
At this point, all we can do is speculate, right? Because we don't know enough. But what I do know is I'm excited that we have our guy. I'm excited that it was relatively quick. You can look at that as a con too, because we may not have conducted as an exhaustive search as most of would have wanted. But at the same time, a big pro to getting your guy this early, it just gives him more time to do his research, get the staff he wants, start to hit the recruiting trail hard, and really start to
and connect with the players. I would say is probably the biggest thing. Now I've got a question for you. Did Matt Wells leave this program in a better place for Joey Mcguire than what Cliff Kingsbury left the program for Matt Wells?
Oh man, I would say that that scale is pretty even. I think it could go one way or the other. I don't really have a definitive answer for you. I think that when Matt Wells came into the program, we were definitely at a low point, and he left it at a low
But there was promise. The thing is, I think when Cliff left, there was promise for Texas Tech football because we had Mahomes, because we had Baker Mayfield, because we had Davis Webb, because we had the explosive, wide receivers. And I think that Matt Wells underutilized the talent that he had, especially on offense, and he just never could get it together on defense. And from what we've heard, even from former special teams players, and from his own mouth, is that he didn't really vibe with the team that well. But I will say this year, I saw from what we've seen, the team has been playing very hard. I feel like they haven't given up in really any game. I feel like they've been playing very hard. They really want to get to the bowl this year. And Matt Wells was a likable guy. Cliff Kingsbury, very likable guy. So I think that, if I'm just going to go back to what you said, if Mcguire doesn't show an uptick, Kirby's going to be out the door.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, you got to see us getting back to the Mike Leach days when you consistently have a winning record year after year.
Yeah.
That's the expectation
tough,
of the administration. Man. That's the expectation of the fan base.
I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I feel like it's harder to rebuild a football program than it is a basketball program.
Yeah, I mean, I think both have its difficulties, but the thing about rebuilding the football program,
I feel like the thing about the basketball program
is, and thankfully we're not in a rebuild. And
you don't think that this football program's in a rebuilding situation?
Oh, no, basketball.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no.
The football, I mean, yeah, we're in a rebuild situation.
Yeah,
for sure.
So he's going to have to be given at least 2 years to figure this thing out.
No question. I mean, do we want a winning season first year? Absolutely. Do we think that's realistic? Maybe not.
Probably not. No.
But we got our guy, Chris, and time will tell.
I will say, Evan, though, the biggest thing that Texas Tech football needs is recruiting. And if Mcguire can get that done, then I think we've got a good chance moving forward.
I agree. Let's segue into the other sport that we love so dearly. Texas Tech basketball season opens their season tomorrow night at home. The Mark Adams era officially begins tomorrow night. Chris, how are you feeling about it?
I'm juiced up.
Is your blood pressure just like mine and super high today just because you're anxious about getting to see him play?
I'm juiced up. I'm excited to see this new tempo offense, and I'm very excited for the calendar moving forward. I am very nervous about one in particular situation that's going on with the basketball program. But other than that, I'm feeling hopeful.
Yeah, let's just address the elephant in the room right away. There was a series of closed door scrimmages, against Wichita State, against University of New Mexico, both of which Terrence Shannon didn't participate in. Mark Adams confirmed that he was healthy, which got people thinking that it was a disciplinary action, maybe a lack of effort, maybe Mark Adams' press conference, he even alluded to that they had to have some really hard workouts lately to try to get everyone back on track mentally. So most people thought that it was that. However, Pete Christie with KCBD posted either yesterday or the day before that Texas Tech is holding out Shannon out of an abundance of caution, direct quote, due to him entering his name into the NBA draft and then
Not
subsequently
hiring an agent.
not hiring an agent, or at least the agent that you can't hire. I think there's different levels there, and then pulling out and coming back to Texas Tech, and then the speculation exploded. What did he do? What's going on? Terrence Shannon did post last night, a picture of the article saying, no worries, we're going to be good. So I think if he was, dead to rights guilty on that he wouldn't have done that. But it does kind of make you wonder what's going on there. I really do think that it was just something that came to light with Tech, and just given how hard the NCAA is hammering down on any sort of infraction on teams, I think Tech has just taken,
We've taken a beating the last few years with this.
Yeah, they're just being cautious, man. And he will not play tomorrow. That has been confirmed. Texas Tech does anticipate to wrap up the investigation within a week or two. So I don't know if this is a NCAA investigation. It certainly doesn't sound like it. It sounds like Tech is just trying to, go through everything with a fine-tooth comb to make sure there's no way that he can be penalized for something. And I think it's a smart move.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is a smart move. Getting out in front of anything that could possibly happen is always the smartest move. But what could he have done that would make him ineligible to play? Right.
Yeah. I mean, if it was something egregious and blatant, like, get
Money.
a new Range Rover, then obviously, that would be another story. And it wouldn't have been phrased and put the way that it was. I mean, this is something that was a gray area. It has to be. There's some rumors floating around that it had maybe something to do with his travel and transportation for workouts. There's a lot of speculation going around. I really truly believe that it wasn't something blatant, and I don't believe that he did anything intentionally wrong.
Yeah.
I think they're just being smart.
I think, especially with the new rule that allows them to be paid for their likeness, I feel like there's a little bit of leniency on this now. So as long as it's not something egregious, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What are you thinking about this team? What are you excited about? Give me your thoughts.
My mind started to stray a little bit, thinking about tomorrow night's starting lineup.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to? Well, that's not fair to just put you on the spot since I was thinking about it. So let me go first. Here's who I think we see taking the floor to start. I think we see Bryson Williams at the 5. I think we see Kevin O'Banner at the 4.
Yeah.
I think we see Kevin McCullough at the 1.
Yeah.
I think we see Davion Warren at the 2. And then the 3 is where I really can't figure out. Is it maybe KJ Allen? Is it maybe, do they move O'Banner down to the 3 and maybe put Santos Silva at the 4?
That was what I was going to say.
I don't know. Do they put Malik Wilson at the 2 and then Davion Warren at the 3? I don't know. There's so many possible options here that.
So you had my lineup when you moved Santos Silva up. For some reason, you don't think that he's going to be starting, but I'm pretty confident that you're going to see Marco Silva Santos starting most games. But just from his leadership perspective.
I agree. I think he's the rock of this team, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. If you put him in the starting lineup, that means you either got to bench Williams
or O'Banner.
Yeah, and you're certainly not.
You're not benching O'Banner
on the bench.
Yeah,
and I would argue that Williams is going to be one of the best players on the team. So I don't know. It almost makes sense to, if Shannon's out at the 3, maybe you move O'Banner down to the 3 and put Santos Silva at the 4 for the time being. I don't know.
Yeah, you got me thinking a little bit about it. Maybe we can, Texas Tech is like pretty famous for their amped up 6th man. So
yeah,
and that usually is like the lifeblood of the team. We've seen it before with Brandon Francis. Maybe we see Marco Silva Santa take that role.
So Marcus Santos Silva gave a press conference appearance when Adams was wasn't really a press conference. It was the first inaugural. You know how Matt Wells used to do the Rudy's interview and they would
yeah.
So that's what Mark Adams did last week. And Santos Silva got up there and talked, and he talked about what went into his decision to come back. And he said he put his name in the transfer portal, and, he was very open and transparent with the other teams that were recruiting him and said, if Mark Adams is named coach, I'm going back to Texas Tech. If not, my recruitment's fully open. So, but the thing that he said that I really liked is he said, look, pure and simple, I was not happy with how I played last year. He said, I was not happy at all with how I played, and I know that I can do better, and I want to come back and lead this team and prove that I can do better. So, of course, you're not going to – that could be a little bit of lip service, but at the same time, I really believe what he's saying, and I think that he is putting a lot on himself in a good way, and I think we should expect a big year out of him.
I totally agree. Does KJ Allen start? He might start these few games that Shannon's out. I'm kind of, it's crazy that your mind starts to move into basketball now. It'd be fun to see. I think KJ Allen has the potential to become an elite player. I don't think anyone could, argue that. It's gonna be fun, Evan. I think we can speculate all we want, but we have no decision or sway on this.
Here's what I wanted to say too, is I know we've talked about this before, and I don't have a roster in front of me, but think about the guys that we're talking about and think about the names we have not mentioned. Chibuzo Agbo Jr., Clarence Jr., Adonis Arms.
Yeah.
Sadar Calhoun, Ethan Duncan, Daniel Bacho. We haven't even mentioned a 4-star recruit, dude. We're not even. Think about if this was like Tubby Smith days and we had a 4-star on the roster, we'd be like, oh, it's gonna be his year. He's gonna be, Big 12 Player of the Year. We are loaded with talent.
We are, man. Locked and loaded. This is going to be a very fun year. I'm very excited to see how the offense looks. And I'm, it just came to my mind. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I hope to God that the fireside chat doesn't move to Austin. I can see Chris Beard. It's already done. You already did it?
Yeah. 2 episodes are out.
My God.
He did it next to Biva, and it looked so painful.
Oh my God.
It's so forced.
2 episodes.
One other name I do want to mention, I might have already said it, Ethan Duncan, our boy Ethan on the podcast. Great dude. He has a torn labrum, will be out for the season. We wish him the best, and we hope to see him back as soon as he can.
Oh, man.
I doubt we'll see him play at all this year. But let's not forget about him, dude. One of the best players to ever come out of Lubbock. Can shoot out the gym. A Matt Forte type player. I don't think he would have seen a lot of playing time this year anyways, but I fully expect him to do some damage if he sticks around. He's almost like I could almost see him being like an Avery Benson type player, not in the effort, but someone that you. Not that he won't give effort, but Benson was just on the floor getting bloody faces and mustaches just because he was crazy. But you bring in Ethan, the whole crowd goes nuts. Drains a few threes, put him back in, on the bench. Like I can see him being a spark player for sure.
Yeah, to all our listeners, if you haven't listened to that interview that we did with Ethan Duncan, give that one a listen. Fantastic human being and amazing basketball player.
Let's finish up, Chris, with Mark Adams. Mark Adams is taking the reins. I think he has some pretty high expectations, and rightfully so. He put together an all-star cast of assistants. He's loaded with talent, as we talked about. Chris, what would you consider? No, that's a bad way to phrase it. What's your bottom line? We got to get to X this season, or his first season is not a success.
Oh God, he's got to make the tournament. He has to make the tournament. 5 seed or better. I think probably my expectation for this team with the amount of talent that we had, 5 seed or better. And it's hard. It's going to be really hard to compete in the Big 12 to win a championship, but finishing in the top 4 in the Big 12, I think that would be good. I think that'd be, for his first year coaching, I think that would be kind of my baseline. But has to make the tournament. And I think a 5 seed I think that's realistic with the talent that we got. A 5 seed in the tournament.
Yeah.
In Sweet 16.
I want him to make the tournament. I'm not so sure I would, and I hope we do, and I think we will, but I'm not so sure I would consider the season a loss if we didn't. Our previous coach, who shall not be named, his first year we didn't make the tournament.
And but you got to think about the talent that we have.
Well, dude, he inherited a massive roster from Tubby Smith. He had Keenan Evans and Zach Smith and Norris Odiase and Justin Gray.
I understand.
And the backbone of that next team. What I'm saying is it takes some time to click, and I hope that it clicks sooner rather than later for Mark Adams. But we'll see how it goes. My kind of baseline. I agree. Making the tournament's an important milestone, and I think finishing the top half of the 12. Currently, we're picked to finish 4th. Could we do better on paper? Absolutely. I mean, I think we have one of the deepest benches on paper in college basketball.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy that we are talking like we're so stacked, right? I think that we have been stacked for the last 3 years. Really. And I think when we made it to the finals, we weren't as stacked with talent, but I think our team did play as one unit better than any basketball team in college that I've seen in a long time. Yeah. I think that you hit it right on the head, man. If this team can click early and play as one cohesive unit on defense, which I think that we have with Mark Adams, that's something that I'm not going to be worried about. It's the offense, and it's been the offense for the last 2 years, really. And that's why I'm excited to see, and I'm forgetting his name. Who is it? The new offensive coach? Perry? Yeah.
Perry.
I'm excited to see this faster ball movement that they've been talking about. Yeah. And if that goes, then I think we've got a runaway train with this Tech team because we are so stacked. I don't think defense is going to be a problem whatsoever. The offense is something that I've been looking for the past. Even when we went to the finals, man, I think our offense was stagnant a lot of the season, and I just think it's like the team clicked right at the right time and just played so well together and played for one another because we had Matt Mooney, Moretti, Culver, Odiase, Tariq, and I just think that they all knew that they had to find the best shot and at the best moment, and that's what they did for the most part at the later end of that season.
Yeah, and then the past 2 seasons, Beard, the snake, for whatever reason, would not get away from the motion offense.
No.
Matter what. And so I'm excited to see some freedom to be able to break away from that and try out some new schemes and just see what works.
Yeah, me too, man. It's very, very exciting. This is going to be whether it's a runaway train and we win the Big 12 and win it all, or we're, I don't want to say, but we're making the tournament in this either way. But or it's kind of an up and down season. It will be exciting no matter what to see what this new program looks like under Mark Adams. And I'm very excited and happy for Mark Adams and his family. This is an awesome opportunity, and I think that he's the right guy in Lubbock for it.
Well, time will tell, and it all starts tomorrow night. Make sure to tune in, and I look forward to it, Chris. But for now, I'm Evan.
I'm Chris.
And this has been the Raider Powered Podcast. Guns up.
Guns up.